you're next to me, stuck in my head. When lights go off, you're everything that I could ever want. Your touch so soft. Not looking for no heaven or gold, 'cause I got you. Don't wanna show us off, but you're my all that I need. I'm trying to sugarcoat, but I'm flying so high. I don't even know if I'm coming down. You rock my boat when you hold me so tight. The world just disappears in front of me.
We stand today amongst our many fallen brethren. Yesterday's epic Bitcoin crash made many profitable, yet many of our brothers have fallen in battle to the dread monster BitMEX wrecked. Let us have a moment of silence for our fallen brethren. Moving on, may they never long support again. Bitcoin's price action today looks fairly unimpressive, though, which is nothing unnatural. It's nothing unnatural for a range to establish after a highly volatile move to the downside. However, is there further downside incoming, and could it be coming faster than we had previously anticipated? Find out in today's exciting episode of Breaking Bitcoin. All right, welcome to Breaking Bitcoin, recorded live here in the studio, Wednesday, September 25th, 2019, foul year of our Lord. This is your daily source for market updates, sentiment, and news for cryptocurrency traders. My name is Justin Wise, lead analyst and senior mentor at crackingcryptocurrency.com. Hopefully you guys are doing absolutely fantastic today, wherever around this globe you happen to be tuning in from, and whether you're watching us from across the YouTube, Twitch, DLive, Facebook Live, or on Roku with the Investor News Channel app. If you want to support the show, make sure to subscribe, follow, share, and engage in the live chat. Of course, today's episode of Breaking Bitcoin is brought to you by the Kraken Cryptocurrency Trading Group. If you guys are new traders, aspiring traders, or experienced traders looking to sharpen your skills with a community of like-minded individuals, make sure to check out the links in the description to see all that the group can offer for you. And I want to thank this month's crypto comment giveaway sponsor, Spectre Security Coin. Make sure to go check them out at spectresecurity.io. And without further ado, hopefully you guys are doing really well. Without further ado, let's give away some crypto, and let's break down today's price action, guys. Let's do this. All right. As we normally do, forgetting to set that thinger back there. But anyways, let's move right along. We've got the YouTube random comment picker right up here. We're going to randomly pick a winner. And it's BlockchainGains. He says, keep missing the streams. Number 9, smashing the like button. Thank you so much, my good friend. Highly appreciate the support. Get a hold of me in the Discord, and I will tip you some crypto, my good friend. With that being said, let's get right to the live scene with today's analysis. All right. Hey, BlockchainGains is in the house. What's going on, man? All right. Who do we got here, man? Who do we got in here this morning? We've got Satoshi Nakafomo. We've got Ben Kirk. Ben Kirk in the house. What's up, my good friend? Lead developer for Kraken Cryptocurrency. It's Hard. Agency, Dark Rico. Henry, Crypto Huntsman, Ken D, Snack, what's going on, man? Chilling in Alaska. Ankit, we've got Ricky Thompson, as always. Caprica, Mr. Hut QC, my good man. All right, let's get right to evening, Justin. Could you give us a short term on EOS USD? I wish I had that. Oh, here's the short. Yeah, sure. Here's the short term analysis on EOS USD.
Tonight at 11.
That is the short term analysis on EOS USD. All right. Hopefully, I don't get a copyright strike for that. All right, moving right along, guys. We've got a fantastic show for you today. Marshall, what's going on, man? My wife is going to kill me. Yeah, we're going to talk about that later. We're going to talk about last night's price movement leading to an uptick in divorce filings in the great state of California. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll start off on the daily. We'll zoom our way down. As I said yesterday, not a time to be looking for longs. Of course, there was an opportunity to take the long scalp off the very tippy top bottoms. Ended up being about a 7% trade, 6.6%. So one would have had the potential to net about 3%, just being realistic about the length of a movement that one would have had to capture. And again, when we're talking about entry levels for that, again, there's really nothing over here that would have, in my opinion, would have given you a good entry on that. This is going to come down to potentially, you would have had to have the exact right fib tracement, or you would have had to have the exact right support and resistance level. Because when we talk about support and resistance levels, of course, we're over here on the Bitstamp chart. But when we talk about support and resistance levels, I mean, where did price end up wicking off of? It wicked off some random area in this supply zone. Now, of course, we did talk about the gap getting filled yesterday, so that did give you a range. So I'm more specifically talking about just the low of the candle. That's really where everybody's mind goes to. Well, how do you catch the lows? In general, catching the lows of a candle is not feasible. Nobody does that every time, even those who specialize in reversals, which again, those who specialize in reversals is about 1% of the algorithmic traders, or very large, or very, very, very large traders. Your everyday profitable trader is not focusing on those things. Now, obviously the CME zone did give us a good wicking area of which to buy in for that particular trade, and that was going to be a reversal bounce trade. Generally, you know, on average, price came back up to the lower time frame VWAP. I know that's a fairly popular method to trade that style. It's a method that I've employed in the past using VPSV and VWAP, as well as VPVR and other methods of support and resistance, especially when I traded Forex on lower time frames. Generally, I think the cryptocurrency responds better to that form of trading. But again, you also get along with that the entire basket of issues that you get with trading reversals in cryptocurrency. And it really comes down to what I talked about yesterday, which, to beat a dead horse, but I specialize in that, is when Bitcoin trends, you make so much money. It is easy to make money for the least talented trader out there to make money when price is trending. Yet, most retail traders will feel that they have to trade all the time. Overtrading is the most common symptom, is the most common problem that I've noticed with all students of mine when they first come into the group, is the desire, is the feeling of the urge to overtrade. All of this plays a part into mental health, and I don't think that excuse me, and this is why trading professionally, especially day trading professionally, has such a high washout rate because of the stress and emotional strain associated with it. And I think that a lot of that comes from needing to trade when price is not attractive to trade. When Bitcoin's price is trending, it is an extremely easy asset to trade. When Bitcoin's price is sideways, it is an extremely difficult asset to trade most of the time. There are people that have better results than others, but in my experience, those who attempt to make a life strategy out of trading sideways consolidation or chop, trading reversals in that manner, range trading, they generally do not outperform trend traders who just sit on the sidelines when such a time comes around. Now, anyways, feeling a little sluggish today, so I'm really down in this coffee, trying to get the day going, man. You know, I did about 2 hours of programming this morning. I did my morning analysis. I didn't make any new trades this morning. Just did my morning analysis and did a mentoring session this morning. And for some reason, this morning is taking it out of me. And that's okay. That's okay. We're all human, guys. All right, so let's go. Let's go down to the daily, and we'll just kind of look at where we're at. Obviously, nothing has significantly changed since yesterday. We have had a little bit of a retracement on that initial gain made off of the lows yesterday. Bitcoin's price made a high today of 8,746, and we'll kind of see that when we go to the lower time frames and start breaking this down, obviously with our daily low of 8,216. So just from a very base area, that's the first areas that you want to be watching if you're looking for breaks of these current levels, of this current range that Bitcoin is trading in. And make no mistake, we are currently trading in a range which is to be expected after such a large move into the downside. Now we're going to talk about reasons why further downside might be incoming. Those are going to be dependent upon the weekly close, as we talked about yesterday. So we'll get over to the weekly chart here in a little bit, but I want to start from the daily and move down, and then we'll kind of bounce up to the weekly, and then we'll move on to our other assets as well here in the crypto space. But of course, we do have to remember that our major dollar pairs are going to be following Bitcoin. There is no decoupling. There is no such thing. One of the things, and I don't commonly say this because I don't want to discourage people from their own trading activities or from their own analysis or from their own ideas. I want everybody to be out there working, grinding, and building their own system. That's actually what I do in the course, is I teach people how to build their own system. But people come in all the time, obviously, with chart requests, and they want a chart, and they basically want to know if there's a trade to take. And the reality is this, unfortunately, either the entire altcoin market is bullish or it's not, or the entire Bitcoin or the entire USD pair market is bullish or it's not. There really is very little median, guys. Either everything is bullish or everything's bearish for the most part. Now, within that overall realm, you do have slight deviation, right? Like 60% of altcoins might be pumping and 40% might not. But again, it's not like there's just one, it's not like there's always these rare diamonds in the rough that are going to just move wildly different from the market. I mean, they're going to have their daily oscillations. And for people who are focusing on algorithmic trading or lower time frame trading, there's always going to be opportunities and potential. But generally, when the market dynamics shift, you want to be shifting your mind and your mode into trend trading, which is in a bearish market, you want to short corrections to the upside. And in a bullish market, you want to be longing corrections to the downside. Or the way that we trade is we watch for those breakouts in the dominant direction. We look for those reversals within the trend, is what we call them in the group. So we're looking to trade reversals, but only in the direction of the trend. So in this case, looking at this overall bearish structure of Bitcoin, one would typically only be looking for shorts. Now, something that I said yesterday, which I think is germane to talk about because I do want to split the baby here and cover kind of both facets of this, is if you're looking at cryptocurrency as a longer term investment, we are entering into potentially now more attractive areas to accumulate Bitcoin for the long term, right? So I kind of talked about this yesterday in my market update. I talked about, should we resolve the weekly bearish? Well, I'll begin resuming dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. Because as an investor, you need to invest differently than you trade. And as an investor, one needs to find things that are at a good value, and they need to purchase those things at a good value. And I think the best tried and true method to add to your portfolio for long-term holds is simply dollar cost averaging. It is the best statistical method to outperform the market, to accumulate a good portfolio, and to hold it for the long term. Also, it's a matter of discipline. You simply purchase your asset on the same time of every month, regardless of what the price is. And, and again, as a trader, I'm able to add nuance to that, which is I just won't blindly buy an asset when it's near its all-time high. That we do have indications of when things are overheated or too cold. And that's generally, if it's overheated, you don't want to be dollar cost averaging. If it's too cold, you want to be dollar cost averaging potentially a little bit more aggressively. So just all little nuances that walking through the realm of trading has added to my life, to enrich my life. And it's kind of interesting how that all applies to other things as well. You got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them, as the great man said. So anyways, here on the daily, Minx is bearish, descending further into its oversold territory. But if we look what it is doing, it is showing signs of diminishing momentum. Obviously, one doesn't need an indicator to see that. One can simply look at the girth of the current candle. Wadatar explosion is obviously still quite bearish. We still have a rising explosion level, yet of course today is showing us less weakened bearish momentum indicated by the orange candle juxtaposed to the red that preceded it, and it is also shorter than the previous column, and that will remain that way until we have more momentum. Doesn't necessarily have to be a larger candle, just has to have just has to push the histogram further apart is what it needs to do. And of course the rising explosion level will I assume be rising here for still quite some time. We'll probably see this rising for quite a few days unless we get a significant, and by significant I mean significant, V bottom out of this area, which I think is increasingly unlikely at this time. All right, so on the daily, as I said yesterday, what was the best thing to do yesterday? We were sitting right around the mids of these candles, sitting around right around 8,300. Yesterday, when we finished the stream, or throughout the course of the stream, when I called to take some more profits on the BTC short that we've been in, as well as the EOS USD short. Again, doesn't take a genius, I think, to see a massive movement like that. And to take some profit on their short position, which is exactly what I've done. I still have 20% of my short position open. I am waiting for a lower time frame continuation signal to the downside before I scale further into a short position. As it is right now, I'm still short exposed. I still have short exposure to Bitcoin. I don't have any long exposure at this time. I haven't had long exposure for about a week. Been fully hedged for quite a while. And then I just added into the full risk short position on the 20th of September, the open of the 20th of September, as I spoke about yesterday, as we did in the group. Now, and largely my thoughts remain exactly the same. This isn't an area where I really want to be doing much of anything. And again, the level of conviction here for me anyways, is still about 60-40, man. Like we've got 60%, we have downside incoming, further downside incoming. There's really no other reasons for that except for just the momentum that these consolidation ranges usually perform with. You know, I'm not adverse to price retracing here a little bit. Again, that is where I will be looking to reshort or add to my position if that is what happens. Essentially, what will happen is if price does end up breaking to the upside out of this, what I expect to be a slight consolidation range down here at the lows, what are right now the lows anyways. And if price does end up breaking to the upside, I'll just exit my short position, take the rest of my profit, which will still be quite a profitable trade at that point in time. And I will stay hedged short until, again, we go over those factors that I talked about. What are those factors? What levels do I need to see? As I have updated my early exit conditions, I do need to see price all the way back above, at this point, 91.83. I need to see the daily be closing above 91.83 before I am bullish again. So in this scenario, that 91.83 is also, if I don't see that daily close above it, I do see rejection from that area, where I'd be looking to re-enter into that short, especially if we go and look over at our Ichimoku. So our Kijun is coming in all the way at 94.73. Now, I do expect this to drop down a little bit, but really this will not drop down a whole lot more. And that is kind of our delineating line between the bullish and bearish market at this point in time. Price really needs to be above that if we're going to have a strong, if we can even say with a slight level of conviction that this was a very significant long trap and that we are going to end up seeing potentially higher highs on the higher time frame charts here. Again, I think that is less likely at this point in time, but again, the market the chart tells all, and all we need to do is wait and watch the chart, and it'll tell us exactly what to do at all times. All right, so getting the Kijun off of there, and we've talked about volatility expander, price getting above 91.83. Current levels of resistance at this point in time on the higher time frames. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys, as for levels of support, and allow me to assume my cross-legged position here as we're getting serious. As far as levels of support, there is really nothing below us that is significant, okay? It is very difficult to determine support when you have just had a parabolic movement to the upside. Literally, you have this, and again, determining these levels is where it becomes tricky, okay? And we'll talk about a couple different potential scenarios here, both with price, structure, and then we'll also look at support, dynamic levels of support. Excuse me, man. So in this scenario, obviously we have this chunk, this block of consolidation, but if we look at the range of that chunk, it stretches from 72.70, I mean, pretty much all the way up here to 87.90. So we have a $1,000 range that we can trade in, and that is not conducive to anybody's trading. That's not helpful to anybody looking to put on a position, and therefore I think that this area is largely counterfeit. The one area on here that I do think is interesting, and I'm going to pull out the drawing tool for this, obviously is this area, right? Let's turn off the magnet mode. Is this area right here, just from a price perspective level, is going to be this kind of horizontal level right around the $7,200 region. And why is that significant? Because you do have a long stop area right there. That is a prime target for long stops to be placed. It's an area where liquidity was grabbed over here on this candle, as we can see. And it's an area where we did end up finding a bit of a double bottom, and also that price pattern that I do like to talk about. This isn't quite the same thing. This is more of a double bottom off of support. Really what I like to see, and I've talked about this before, when looking for breakouts, is essentially that test of resistance, a slight pullback forming a pretty close higher low to that level of resistance, and then the candle close above that level of resistance is a very good sign of a breakout to me. I always love to see that. You can see it here on the daily, and if you zoom down to lower time frames, you can actually see this significant pattern play out, which is a test of resistance, a slight pullback, and then that candle close above resistance, which typically does lead to some good bullish activity. At least that is what I watch for price action-wise when looking for breakouts. I look what actually is occurring prior to the breakout happening. All right, so taking that nonsense off of our chart, and again, so that level's coming in right around the 7,200s, looking, that would be a logical area to look for the sweep of those lows if one is looking to trade that way. Beyond that, we have other tools available to us if we're looking for levels of support. Obviously, we can look at my popular, my most favorite one, which is going to be the VPVR. Problem with the VPVR is it is quite subjective, and there are differing opinions on how to trade it, so I will just tell you what I like to do. So what we will do is we will only look at the breakdown from 6,000, the accumulation zone from 3 to 4,000, and then obviously the resulting breakout that we've experienced all year long. Now, this might be a little difficult for you guys to see on your screen with VPVR over here on the right, but the main thing that I want to point my attention to is going to be this low volume node, and you can see so low volume nodes are indicative of low volatility at that level or low liquidity, meaning a lot of orders haven't been triggered at that area. And in my experience, price does like to return to those levels. We can see that if we just go ahead and plot that horizontally, that is coming in right at that area, right below those lows, around the $7,200 to $7,400 area. And again, that's a wide variance. I'm not very comfortable with that. Am I planning any trades around this? No, these are just areas that one would be watching, areas that I'm watching to see how price responds to these levels. Not really conducive to putting on any trades, because obviously as a trend trader, as an if this then that trader, I am simply waiting for objective signals from my strategy that I've built, and that is how I enter into trades. However, that does not preclude me from, as an investor or as a more nuanced trader, determining levels that I would be interested to see price respond to. And again, that level, if we look at where the low volume node is coming in totality, really is at the 7487 level, 7400. And I know this line's pretty freaking crazy here, but you can see it lines up right there with that low liquidity level right there. Getting below that level, and this is the reason why I think that any people who are calling for massive support anywhere around here are ridiculous. Obviously, we do have a high volume node right around the $8,000 level, and that is pretty much the median of where we consolidated previously, as we can see right here. If we zoom in on this, this is pretty much the median level right here. And to be quite frank, very, very close to where price is right now. But getting above and beyond that, the only thing that we have, and this will become very, very clear if we zoom out, I mean, the point of control and the highest volume node, if we exclude the accumulation zone down in the $3,000 to $4,000 area, is going to be 6,400. It's going to be that $6,000 area. I think if we're looking for horizontal levels of support, that is really the only thing that jumps out to me. Price does like to return to the point of control, and that would, if that were to occur, make logical sense. It would be a bullish breakout and then a significant pullback and retest of the breakout zone. And the verbiage that would be used to describe this would be looking for a horizontal support and resistance flip, looking for an SR flip at that point in time. So moving on from there, if we start to look at some of our moving averages, again, here on the daily, we're really, again, I'm it's pretty uncomfortable from a moving average chartist perspective here. Where we're looking at the simple 200 period moving average right here, and what we have in the yellow is the exponential 200 period moving average on the daily time frame. We've dropped all the way down to that. Now, I know what you're thinking. Has the 200 simple moving average been significant in the past? Well, no, it really has not been that significant in the past. In my perspective, there's been a couple times where price has bounced off of it. But again, if you have enough lines on your chart, it will find an opportunity to bounce off of any line. So I think the only way that I would feel comfortable analyzing this, and again, I think the weekly levels are a little bit more significant at this point in time. But again, I will not deny I do think it is germane to point out, because this is a fairly important level for traders, is that the 200 simple moving average on the daily time frame is coming in at 83.10. That is where we are currently finding support, and we do find ourselves a little range bound on the current daily candle between our 200 exponential moving average and our 200 simple moving average. So again, naturally, a breakdown of the 200 would just be a little bit more confirmation. So for those of you who are kind of looking for what signal are you looking for to scale further into a short, I don't think that is a bad one. Again, that's really the only level of support I think that we have below us that is significant. And again, getting below that, I think that the only thing that we really have in the form of horizontal support is going to be those equidistant lows at 7,400, or potentially the floor of the 2018 bear market, which is going to be 6,000 to 6,400. But again, areas to watch. I'm trying to give you guys potentials. I'm trying to give you guys options for what to watch for entries. Let's slide on. Instead of going down, let's actually go up. I do want to go up and look at the weekly before we do descend into the lower time frames. And again, pulling up that same CC EMA indicator here. We do have a little bit different here. We do have, of course, our gray 55 exponential moving average, and then we have the simple 100 period moving average coming in right at, literally right at the same price level. That's that $7,700 level that we did previously talk about yesterday. Price didn't quite make it all the way down there to our secondary baseline, which is the 55 exponential moving average, but again, made a good college try of it, I would say. All right, so what are we going to be watching for on the weekly time frame here? Well, assuming that we don't have a significant retrace of our movements here, I would be watching for price for the weekly to be closing underneath that weekly 21 exponential moving average. I think that is significant. Let's go and take a look at our baseline as well. If we pull open our baseline, where is our 30 period Donchian coming in at? It is coming in at 87.75. So that to me is a little bit more significant. 87.75. Closing the weekly below there would be pretty significant in my opinion. And that is going to be both my qualifications for resuming my dollar cost averaging investment strategy on Bitcoin. It is also potentially going to be the signal to scale further into my short. Of course, I do need my other indicators to confirm that as well at that time. And again, although I think those levels are important to watch, I do always prefer getting my clean signals from the daily. In this case, what I would have to see is I would have to see Minx come up into static and then cross back down below to give me a proper continuation signal to let me know that it's okay for me to be looking for another bullish trade in this bear cycle. Now, what I'm watching right now to be exiting my trade is, of course, going to be the time transformation crossover, the syndicator that you get in the group. So I'm going to be watching the time transformation very closely right here. We are getting the second concurrent green dot of life, which does occur when price is oversold. Again, there is really no such thing as overbought or oversold. Breaking out of a trend, overbought and oversold only apply when one is in the dynamics of a range. So of course, as we have violated the bottom of our previous trading range, we are going to be flashing overbought conditions. This is not surprising. So as I've said before, it is usually after a consolidation period, almost the first overbought indication that you're going to get from any indicator that has the capacity to be overbought or oversold is almost always wrong. You will get a very weak bounce and then continuation. And then you will get a second overbought signal, and it is that overbought signal that has more strength. Doesn't mean that it's not, I'm not telling you that it's a hard, fast rule that every time you get a second overbought signal, that is where we're truly oversold signal. That's where we're truly oversold, and that's a no-brainer place to buy. For me, it's a little bit different. I do notice that the second or sometimes third signal is much stronger than the first one in the context of breaking out of a range, which is exactly what we're doing right here. So as far as the As far as the overbought signal goes, that I'm not paying a whole lot of attention to. The green dots of life, of course, it's just telling me what I already know. And of course, we have to put that in the context of breaking out of the range. So as far as the oversold conditions are on the current market structure, I'm not paying that a whole lot of mind. I will, of course, be exiting my trade should time transformation go ahead and cross on up, because those just do have such a good capacity to initiate a little bit of bullish potential and potentially spark that retracement back to that $9,100 area, or maybe the $9,400 area on the Ichimoku, at which point, again, as I said, I would be looking to reshort Bitcoin. Unless something significant changes up there, unless we do get a close above the Kijun, and then in that case, things are a little bit different. And same for above the 91.53. As I said yesterday, I'll be taking the long trade above 91.53 with less risk, still hedging the rest of my equity that is not long exposed, but on the close above the $9,400 level, then I will view this as a fake out, and I will be looking for opportunities to get long, and it'll be around that time when we probably start to get trending to the upside confirmations on our indicators, if that is how the market decides to go. But as of right now, we don't see any of that. That's all speculation. What we have in front of us is a bullish market, and you trade the chart that is what we have in front of us is a bearish market after a large movement to the downside, breaking out of a range and throwing its first oversold signal, which is counterfeit. So we trade the market that is in front of us, because anything else is going to be speculation, and that is not how we make money. We make money by patiently, consistently, calmly, and strategically trading our system over and over and over again. We just do the same thing. No need for wishy-washy, speculative, unsuccessful, unverifiable analysis up in here. So having said that, there's nothing to do right now, but I wouldn't take more profit at this point in time. I would hold on to the remainder of your short position, and I would wait for an exit signal, or I would wait for a continuation signal to the downside. And again, it's going to be difficult for us to get that continuation signal on our primary indicator without a retracement of minks back into the static level. That is why I recommended potentially something that we could watch is, of course, that 200 simple period moving average on the daily, waiting for that close below 83.09. And again, using that as an initiation signal, of course, using something like Quadriga to determine your stop and target on that trade. All right. That's about all I've got for Bitcoin. Let's go down to the 15-minute time frame and just look at the structure of price and the analysis that I had posted this morning. Let's actually get rid of Ichimoku, and we're on the 15. So let's bring up VWAP. We're on and this is, again, this is, something that I've talked about a whole lot. We are below VWAP on the 15-minute chart. This is going to be your day trader's delight. What I had posted this morning is looking at market structure. And of course, we are on the Bitstamp chart. So let's go over to BitMEX, because this is, if we're day trading, we're not going to be day trading on Bitstamp. But below VWAP, we've got a triple rejection off of our current VWAP. This is right here. This is where the daily VWAP chopped down from yesterday. That level for me is going to be at 89.5650. I'm undercutting it a little bit. I think it's really at 89.80, but I'm just not going to target the full thing. And really the only intraday setup that I see right here, if you have a bullish bias, if you are looking to go long out of this consolidation range, and this is the consolidation range, we can see the lows, we can see the oversold recovery right here, and then just the drift down, and this range get very tight. Now, this has actually been an attractive day trading range, as we have ranged pretty much on the daily from a high of 8,800 all the way down to 8,215. And that's going to be a $587 range, so about a 7% range. So attractive for scalps. Obviously there was a 4% trade to the downside, and you've made probably on average maybe 1.5% trade on each of these bounces right here. What would I be watching for intraday if I were looking for an intraday setup on this? Well, we do have these three equal lows now, and again, I posted my morning analysis right around here after the second low was being established, right here around the $8,200 level. What I'd be watching for on the daily, the only setup that I really see here is if you were looking, again, to take kind of a long out of this area, would be looking for the liquidity to get swept right below these equal lows. Obviously, there are going to be long stops placed right here. I'd be very cautious with your stop loss. I'd probably be using a soft stop loss on this. You'd want to have a hard stop loss, obviously before your liquidation price, and you want to be watching your risk. On a trade like this, I'd be using less than 0.5% risk, no more than 0.5% risk. Don't eat me. I promise not to, man, but thanks so much for joining the community. Looking at something like this, I'd be looking for these lows to get swept, and then I'd be looking for VWAP to be reclaimed on the daily. And then I'd be targeting, again, I'm just targeting the highs right here. I'm targeting these highs right here. And then I'm, of course, targeting where VWAP jumped down from yesterday's trading session. So again, looking for a looking for a fill right here and looking for a total swing of about 8%. Again, that's going to be a nice recovery intraday for us right here. And of course, we have had that opportunity to get filled on that movement to the downside. Did post this to the members this morning. And again, but we haven't reclaimed VWAP yet. So again, I think the better way to have done this as well is to potentially scale in a partial position here and then a partial position getting above daily VWAP right here. But again, that's, again, low risk on this trade, not a full position size. This does not negate the day trade that we, or excuse me, the swing trade that we have set up, which is what we end up making most of our money for. And this is, again, I'm just trying to lay out the most objective long trade out of this range that I can determine. So what we're looking for kind of right now is obviously that same pattern that I talked about, where we're testing our dynamic level of resistance right here. And we are looking to form a bit of a lower, or excuse me, a higher low in close proximity. So I really wouldn't want to see it. When I say close proximity, I mean on the resultant movement upwards, not less than the median, right? Not less than the median price. So if we measure this range from here to here, what is the median of that range? You want to see a higher low being formed above that median price. So seeing a higher low formed and then actually seeing the level get broken, that would be the reclamation of daily VWAP for us. And then looking again for those targets. And again, looking for that low fill would be right down here. Now, where would I want to be setting a stop loss? I mean, I'd hate to set a logical stop loss, but here's the area. This area has already been our low, and we've already had higher lows. You know, the one thing to be kind of cautious on this is something that can always happen is that this low gets swept. Obviously, this low down at 88,000 gets swept. I think that's probably unlikely unless we are breaking down to the downside at this point in time. Just something for you guys to be cautious about. That's why I would favor the soft stop loss on this with obviously a hard stop loss. You know, again, I would probably place a hard stop loss about 5 to 8% down on this one. I think that's good. That, you know, something that's going to put you at about 1-to-1 risk. So, you know, for your final target, you're going to be looking at about 9% risk. So maybe average down, you're going to probably, if you scale out at all positions, you're going to be getting about 6% on this trade, potentially, maybe a little bit more, depending on how you scale out percentage wise. But, yeah, you want to be placing a hard stop loss at something that gives you 1-to-1 risk just to protect yourself in case your price does break to the downside from this range. And of course, you'll already be in your established short position. So again, to take this trade, if you're already short, you're going to have a second account, or you're going to have to be trading on a different exchange. The way that I do this is that I generally trade my larger accounts on ByBit, and I sometimes will take smaller scalps or hedge positions on BitMEX. If I misspoke, let me rephrase that. I want to make sure that I said that correctly. I trade my larger trades on ByBit. I take my smaller trades on BitMEX. All right, so moving on from there. Let's take a little bit of a break. We'll stay down here on the 15-minute time frame. We'll stay down here on the 15-minute time frame, and we're going to answer our initial questions for the day from the chat. And then we're going to go talk about Ethereum if you guys want. A lot of activity in the chat today, guys. Hopefully you're doing super, super well. Okay, let's see here. Ooh. Ken D says, you could buy BSV for less than you could sell it. So I did. Awesome, man. Ricky says, we are not in the bear market yet. That is true. We are not in the bear market yet. Ken says, did it twice, didn't take much, but 2 trades, I instantly made money. It was wild. Welcome to the intoxicating flavor of cryptocurrency, my friend. Caprico, what's going on? We doing some dancing this morning. Mr. QC, what's going on, my friend? MT Coiner, aloha to you. Mr. Ether hopes everyone is profitable again today. I agree. What is up with these yawns? Did the rest of you sleep okay? Maybe it's the way I slept. Heisenberg, good morning to you. Shid Cat says, I am not in profit. Hey, it's okay, man. We live to fight another day. Ken says, I would be proud of you. You lost $2 in the crash and wound up with more than 2.5 times the BSV I started with, and it's already profitable again. Good to hear, man. Wendy, good to see you this morning. Thanks for joining us. Darren Garish. Good morning, Lefty. Good morning, Sanjeev. Sorry Store asks, is it a good time to buy Bitcoin now? If you are planning on holding Bitcoin for the long term, I think that I would ideally like to see lower prices than this if I were going to resume my accumulation. Again, I'd like to see, what I would really like to see is I'd like to see a breakdown of this level. I would like to see, a breakdown of this level. I would like to see slightly lower price. I'd like to see, 7,400, 7,000 if I was going to get really excited about being a little bit more aggressive. And again, but anything to me, honestly, anything above 6,000, I'm not going to be super aggressive with my dollar cost averaging because I was aggressive with my dollar cost averaging in the past. And to be honest, I don't need to add a lot to my Bitcoin investment position. I'm fairly happy where it is in my portfolio. I think that I would be comfortable, swapping about 10% maybe. And that's kind of a big number for me. 10% of my stocks that I'm holding for Bitcoin. But I would want to see, I'd want to see lower prices for that. But again, I stand on what I said. I would, again, begin dollar cost averaging on Bitcoin if we do end up resolving the weekly bearish. Do I think we're entering into a bear market, brother? No, not at this time. We're not even close to there. Justin, I can see the passwords of your accounts on that sticky note on the monitor behind you. No, you cannot. That note says trade Forex, 3:30 p.m. every day. Actually, the account that is logged in back there is going to be my scalp. It is a smaller account on ByBit that I am utilizing to test a new strategy out. Forward testing it. There's about $7,000 on that account. So if you can see it, man, good luck to you. But again, not a password. Just says Forex 330. And let me know what CSI special imaging shit you're using it. All right. Split a baby. ByBit closed your EOS short, Mr. Uther. You are a chosen one. The old break, hook, and go. Man. What's the indicator's name that's on the side of the screen? That's called the chat. That is the live chat. If you're talking about this right here, I guess maybe you guys can't see my cursor. This, I'm kind of going to the left, and you're talking about these prices. That's just an option in TradingView. You just go down here to your settings and hit labels and indicator last value label. You can't see that really, but it's just right here. If you click on the gear icon down here in your bottom left. Crypto Caveman, good to see you. Let's actually throw some music on. I'm sure you guys don't just like sitting here watching my face. I just want to get caught up with the chat, man. Coinbase sold. Good time to buy CC. It's always a good time to buy CC, my friend. Thank you, Nestor. Binance sold. Jay Kreutzer, what's going on, my good friend? Sitting beautifully in some profit, doing some back testing as I listen to the voice of reason with the soothing sounds of breaking Bitcoin in the morning. Ben said, enhance! Andy says, isn't it better to short at the VWAP now when we are in a downtrend? It all depends on your strategy, my friend. Oh, VPVR. VPVR, Nestor. The volume profile, the volume profile visible range. Do I trade any stocks or just crypto and forex? I don't trade. Well, so I do trade stocks, but not frequently. I invest in stocks. I have a dividend. I have a dividend portfolio that I've been building for about, well, a little over 10 years now, and I'm very happy with it. And so rarely, right? I mean, maybe a couple times a year, I will rebalance that. Sometimes I will. Decide, I'll make a determination that I don't want to hold a stock anymore, but it's very, very rare, man. Like the way that I invest, just as I invest with Bitcoin, is I plan to buy something and I plan to hold it forever. When I buy something to hold as an investor, and this is just what I told myself when I started down this path as an investor, did all the research, I'm going to buy and I'm going to hold forever. And I'm not going to buy something unless I think that I would be comfortable passing that on to my daughter. Jerry asks, is the new member onboarding in the voice chat? No. So yeah, we are, by the way, for the guys in the group, we are going to be doing a new member onboarding session tonight. It is going to be done with GoToMeeting, which I do like to use. So it won't, I was thinking about doing it in the voice chat in the Discord to make it easy. But here's the thing. With the voice chat in Discord, we had the VIP voice chat channel that you guys have access to. It's great, it's great when we can get in there and day trade, but the thing is, or just do mentoring sessions in there, which we do. But the thing is, we can't, I can't share my screen. I can't really show you guys on my computer. And with GoToMeeting, I can. With GoToMeeting, I can share my screen. I can present my screen. I can show everything. It's very easy to use. We use that for our team meetings. We use that for the VIP Ask Me Anything session. So I'll be posting a link to that session here right after the show. Just make sure you guys, if you're going to attend tonight, make sure you guys, you don't have to download GoToMeeting. You can use it on your phone. You can actually call in. There'll be a number if you want to call in from your phone. If you do that, make sure to mute your microphone, or I'm going to have to mute it for you, because people call on their phones and they're like standing outside and then there's wind and it's very, very, very inconsiderate. So JT says, how come I can't get that info box when using Quadriga ATR? Already unfavored it, refavored it. Try scrolling over to your right. Let me show you. So often it's offset so that it's off your screen. So sometimes you might have to click and just drag over. Okay. With that being said, guys, it's 12:50, man. So in about 10 minutes, we're going to be getting ready for break. So let's just kind of do the lightning round on our other assets here. Let's just pull open, first I'll pull open my ByBit watch list, and we'll just kind of scan through. We'll obviously take a look at Ethereum here, and let's go ahead and get our baseline back in here. Again, most of this analysis is going to look the same. Oh man, look at that. Look at Ethereum. Big down move, small candle. So it looks quite similar to Bitcoin. The only difference in Bitcoin is that it's a little bit more bearish. We are seeing a little bit more bullishness from our alts. And when I say bullishness, I really just mean less dump, not real bullishness, really. So when we actually look at Ethereum here, we are below the baseline. Mink signaled that short actually on yesterday's candle. Of course, we would have been below the qualifying line, so that's nothing we would have taken, waiting for that retracement back up into the qualifying zone area to actually be putting on that short. No active position on Ethereum right now. I don't think it's appropriate to be looking for alternative positions to Bitcoin at this point in time, except to hold the shorts open that we already had, EOS, for example, and then, of course, Ethereum Bitcoin and ADA Bitcoin. Did take a stab at Tron Bitcoin, but again, I didn't really like the way that the markets were looking this morning. I think that, and obviously as it's been played out in the charts, early this morning when I first woke up, I had about, I had a very, I was just in a little bit of drawdown on that TRX position. So I just decided to cut it. Overall, the BitMEX alts looked like they had a propensity to pump up just a little bit in response to yesterday's down movement, which, I kind of was expecting. A big down movement from Bitcoin, a little bit of a bullish recovery pump from altcoins. It happens. It's pretty natural. So anyways, here on the daily, below the Kijun, Wadatar explosion is showing a little bit of waning bearish momentum here with a yellow column. Of course, still a rising explosion level, so still quite bearish, honestly. If we're looking a little bit more strategically here, let's pull up this volatility expander. We would obviously be in volatility expander mode now because we've made such a large movement to the downside. We are, of course, in trailing stop mode, both on Bitcoin and on Ethereum. I did forget to mention that in my previous analysis. I did go ahead and set a trailing stop on my Bitcoin position last night. So we are in raging trailing stop loss mode. Almost hit it last night on this high. Just barely. So actually, I will likely be kicked out of a trade at 87.58. I'll likely be kicked out of a trade at 87.58. But I digress. Thank you so much, Crypto Caveman. Highly appreciate that, man. He said, I'm really impressed with the premium group I've been following for a while. I finally joined, and I gotta say, it's better than I expected. I'm really surprised, man. I joined, and they actually wanted to teach me stuff and not just pump shitcoins, man. It's fucking crazy. Just like I was talking to a friend earlier on the phone, and he was telling me about this. Well, it was Ben. Ben was telling me about this altcoin mining thing, which hopefully he's making a killing from it. But he's like, yeah, man, like I called their support and it's abysmal. And that just shocked me. I was like, wait, you're talking about an altcoin project that has terrible customer support? Blew my mind, man. I've just never heard of that. All right. Less dump. It's a technical term. Sorry, let's get back to Ethereum here. Sorry, Ethereum. Looking at volatility expander, we would be looking for a close above that 179.41 level right now to be exiting the trade. It's about $10 up from where we are right now at this given moment. Currently trading at 169.55. And again, a little bit of bullish activity here. We'll see if we can get some more sustained movement from that. I would be more into trading the Bitcoin pairing at this point in time. It's going to move with more volatility, and just allows us to stack up a little bit more Bitcoin for the movement to the downside. Now, let us go look at the lower time frames and get rid of this and bring back VWAP. Okay. So on, we already kind of see this on Ethereum as well. We had, let's kind of look at this. I didn't really look at the LTFs on Ethereum today. Here we are on FUSD. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about here. Although it doesn't quite fit the bill. It's close, but again, it doesn't quite fit the bill. So, you have your range right here. Where is the median of that? Right about there. You don't actually form that high or low right there above that median, which is what I really like to see. But you can see that high or low after the test of resistance. Let's see here, 1, 2, 3 tests of resistance, 4 tests, and then finally the break. And people would be looking at this as a reclamation right now. The way to trade reclamations, because often what can happen is you get a reclamation and then price will dump and then sweep your lows and then actually make its move. Hopefully you guys can read that kanji right there. Let's get rid of that. It looks like a freaking graphic novel from Japan. But anyways, I think the proper way to trade reclamations is wait for the bounce off support and then look for the high to get taken out. I think that's when you want to enter on a momentum breakout trade for Ethereum USD. Where would I be looking if I was going to take this breakout, this LTF breakout on Ethereum? What would I be looking for? Well, I'd look to scale out some profits right here at 175. That's a pretty low target from where we're at right now. But again, pretty good target, I think. And then, of course, I think I'd probably have a penultimate target right up here about 182.50. Yeah, right before that VWAP chunk to the downside right there. Yeah, that's how I would play that. And at this point, if you do end up closing above that level, your stop loss would go right here. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't ever really like putting stop losses where lows haven't been reclaimed. Probably down here would be a little bit safer, but now we're talking about risk to reward because we do have, what are we looking at? 3.5 and 7 to the upside. And we want to try and mitigate loss. Yeah, that's about 4.5 to the downside. It's acceptable, but I'm more comfortable with that. I think if price gets down here, your trade's largely invalidated unless you get a sweep and then price goes right back up anyway. So that would be the other setup. If you were looking for this to fail, you'd look to be a buyer right here on a sweep of this liquidity. And same targets. Same targets apply, except one might put a target right here at the breakout zone. Okay, getting on to EOS. EOS looks the same on the LTFs. XRP looks the same on the LTFs. Going to the dailies for both of these assets. Again, XRP is recovering pretty decently. EOS is recovering okay. And again, by recovering okay, I mean less dumpy, technical term. Let's go over to our volatility expander. Do have the trailing stop loss in on EOS, of course. I believe, let's see here. I haven't looked at this since before. But yeah, coming in off the lows would have been hit. So out of the EOS trade, 36-cent trailing stop loss. That's going to be a fantastic trade. I'll update that trading journal here in just a little bit. And XRP USD, we didn't have an active position on this. We do want to be seeing close above 24 cents, so $0.2484 to be looking for potentially a reversion to the mean trade up to about 26.5 cents on XRP. So actually XRP looks the most bullish out of all four of these. Bitcoin looks like crap. Ethereum looks kind of pretty weak. EOS looks okay. And Derp looking to be the best performing recoveries out of these. So again, I'd still be pretty cautious with looking for those upside trades. But I would expect a little bit more. I would expect a little bit more recovery than dumping today for the BitMEX alts. As we can see here from ETH Bitcoin, of course. That's what I'd be looking for. Bitcoin recovering quite nicely off the lows right here. Here we have this resistance level that is reclaimed, and then we bounce off from that area. This isn't actually an order block. So getting to our BitMEX alts. Ethereum Bitcoin actually was pretty interesting on descending below the volatility expander and then the up inside, or wicking down below and then staying back up inside. Let's actually go look on the 30 period. Yeah. We got our 30 period Donchian. We had a test of support right down to our dynamic level of support. So, I mean, by all rights, one would have only been looking for longs in this scenario. I did end up taking ETH Bitcoin to the downside. And we weren't in trailing stop loss mode yet. So depending on where we end up closing on the daily, we actually don't have the exit signal coming in from ETH Bitcoin just yet. So I'm not overall concerned about this. I'm not exactly sure how long-lived these movements to the upside will be. Nothing that I'm like screaming and scrambling to jump out of my short and go long on. I think that obviously there is, as I said, recovery trades were available here. So I'd be looking for what hasn't moved yet. But again, you also want to be careful taking the long on the weak assets in the sector. Of course, ZERP being the strongest performer here. So if anything, I'd probably be putting my eyes on that. Yeah, all of the alt Bitcoins having a nice little pump off of the lows, which again is not unnatural, is not really to be unexpected. So we're going to see what's going to be interesting here is, and I want to talk about this, guys. If scenario 2, so if Bitcoin has 2 scenarios, so one is we recover and go to all-time highs, in which case look for alts to continue to make lower lows forever. If, however, it's 1 o'clock, so we got to get going. If, however, on the other hand, we end up making lower lows on Bitcoin, and we do end up breaking down and resolving bearishly on the weekly time frame, for example, then I would expect to see another round of altcoin pumps, because that's exactly when alt season comes in. When Bitcoin is topped locally, that's when altcoins pump historically. So look for that. If your interest is going to be in altcoins and liquidity is being transferred, as somebody succinctly pointed out earlier in the stream, then I would be looking to, I'd be keeping your eyes on altcoins. But again, nothing's really signaling a really nice bullish trade to the upside. So let's wait a few days for confirmation, because again, alt season gives us about 2 weeks. Probably get 2 weeks out of alt season maybe this time. Maybe. What's that meme? It's like down and then up, and it's like, this little thing right here was called alt season, right? All right, guys. So we got to take a quick commercial break. And by commercial break, I mean stream. Be right back, screen. And before we go, guys, a brief word about ByBit. Guys, hey, how are you guys doing? As a professional trader, I'm often asked what platform I trade on. As you guys can see back there, it's one of my test accounts. I do trade on ByBit. I made the switch I made the significant switch from BitMEX, where I traded for several years, over to ByBit. I really, really like the exchange. I like everything about ByBit that I've seen so far. And the best thing that I really like, and it sounds hackneyed when I say this, but it's not at all. And those who trade for a long time, especially those who are new traders, know that you're gonna make mistakes, especially if you're a new trader. You're gonna make mistakes when you're first getting into trading, when you're becoming comfortable with a new trading platform, and having some customer service there that is on call, on hand, and actually puts in the time to help you out, I think really makes the difference. This is something that you'll notice if you ever go from cryptocurrency and have only ever traded cryptocurrency on like shit exchanges like KuCoin and BitMEX and crap like that, and then you go to like Forex and you go trade on a Wanda, it is a breath of fresh air, because you have customer support that you can call, you can talk to somebody. If there's a mistake in the exchange, they refund your money. And what I like about ByBit is that is exactly how they conduct themselves. Every single issue that anybody has ever brought to me for ByBit, they have resolved. I think their platform's just as easy to use as BitMEX. I think that they have good liquidity. Again, I could say more positive things about ByBit, but, and the only complaints that I hear about ByBit is they don't have this or they don't have that. Well, they continue to add features every single month. So anyways, guys, if you guys want to trade on ByBit, if you guys would like to avoid those ridiculous freaking wicks on BitMEX. Oh, by the way, did I mention no system overload? Yeah. The only reason I talk about it is because I hate to watch people lose money, and BitMEX, in my experience, loses people money because most people try to day trade on BitMEX. But again, I digress. Go check out ByBit. There is a link down in the description. You can go to bybit.krakencryptocurrency.com. All goes toward making the stream better. Anyways, guys, I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Let me know what you guys would like me to look at. And when we come back, we're going to break down today's news, and we're also going to look at Forex, God willing, should we have time. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, guys, to Today in Bitcoin, where we break down the daily news. Thank you so much for holding through the break. All right, first story of the day. Backed? Technicals? Trump? Greta? What could have possibly caused this massive movement to the downside? Surely there has to be some logical explanation as to why we had this massive move to the downside. Surely, if we just troll the news hard enough, we can find some reason. It must be because there was some fundamental event. So as is often the case, news always comes out after the fact to justify the movement. This is why you're always going to get poor analysis from your news sources when we're talking about the markets or why anything happened in the market. The reality is movements happen, and the news events are jimmied up to justify why such a movement happened, because a simple understanding of chart dynamics and PTP methodology, for example, will tell you exactly what to do when in an objective if this then that strategy. That's the way I've been trading for quite a long time. But let's go and see what our talking heads have to say. Let's see what this talking head has to say about what other talking heads have to say. So, of course, Bitcoin is down a significant percentage on the daily. And of course, we are actually seeing a little bit of a lower today, not as quite low as the previous. Wally, man, coming in strong, hot, fast, and powerful with a $10 donation. Thank you so much, my friend. He has thrown in a chart request for that Neoni Bitcoin from Binance pretty pleased. He threw in there, no cherry, man. It's cool, man, brother. He says, learn, earn, and of course, don't get burned. And some BNB USD analysis wouldn't hurt. I'm sorry, sir. The BNB analysis is going to be an additional 1 cent, my friend. I am just kidding. Thank you so much for the generous donation. Shout out to you, sir, and Gunbot University. You guys are obviously crushing it over there. Yes, of course, we will throw that on the list. Neo, BTC, and BNB USD. All right. Now, before I was so pleasantly interrupted. Now, of course, many, including myself, are speculating on the, well, not really myself. I know why the price happened, because price was bearish and we were looking for a resolution from that area. But of course, this is leading many to speculate on the causes or the potential catalyst behind said sell-off and the breakdown of the 3-month-long meme triangle and large slide down to 75. Now, the slide down to 7,500 seems to be avoided for now, although that might be different. Of course, when we look at the technicals, we can obviously see bearish things in the market. But of course, some of the most popular theories on this dump are going to be investors' heartbreak surrounding the, I would say flaccid, I think is an appropriate term, launch of Backed. And we talked about Backed at length yesterday, and whether or not, you know, this is normal in a futures market. Obviously, here's the reality. Backed traded, I believe it was about 76 Bitcoin worth, whereas CME traded about 5,000 Bitcoin worth on its first day of opening. Obviously, we have very different market dynamics and we have very different funding methods, but it does just go to show you the difference. That is about a 75x difference in initial liquidity on day one. Now, of course, CME is CME. They have their market makers. They have this was all kind of they have their own little club, I guess you would say, whereas Backed is attempting to do something new and launch in a completely different way, not even to mention that it is a novel offering in the space where it is physically delivered Bitcoin futures, which is, of course, different than what the CME offers in the form of cash-settled contracts. Now, the physically settled exchange's failure to achieve liftoff toward the meme, $100,000 plus per dollar moonshot is likely leading not only to investors' portfolios looking bad, but also likely to an uptick in divorces this week, I would postulate. However, it is important to point out, we talked yesterday also at length about the narrative that Bitcoin buyers and investors have been sold this year. And that is that institutions obviously accumulated around the $3,000 area, and now Backed is launching, and we have all of these avenues for institutional investment. Institutions are coming if they're not already here. We've talked about this at length this year. But the reality is we are in a different economic situation than we were at the end of last year or the beginning of this year, where we have the repo, the lending market, which is really concerning. And because that is exactly the same type of financial behavior, the same type of banking scare and crisis that kicked off the 2008 financial crisis, which led to such a significant dip in the stock market. And I would postulate would also at this point in time negatively affect Bitcoin's price. Although, of course, that is one of the most hotly contested topics in this space is how will a recession actually affect Bitcoin's price? Will Bitcoin perform as people are assuming that it will, as a solid store of value, as a competitor to gold, and will it really hold its weight? We've never seen Bitcoin in a in a negative economic scenario. We've never seen Bitcoin perform in a negative economic session. So only time will tell. Only time will tell. Now, while it may be premature to call the Backed launch a failure, with institutions perhaps deciding to arrive later to the crypto party than initially assumed, another possible reason for the downturn may be again related to the macroeconomic and political conditions currently sending a chill through the markets. Of course, our illustrious president, Donald Trump, finds himself amid another scandal with renewed calls for an impeachment inquiry. The markets have been rattled. The traditional markets have been rattled at the prospect of this growing political gridlock and uncertainty. Along with the developing repo, and this is really, I think, probably the most pressing case, the developing repo market liquidity crisis that we talked about yesterday, sending up huge economic red flags. So it is possible that larger bag holders are cashing out, and by bag holders, I mean Bitcoin, are cashing out of high-risk assets such as Bitcoin due to this economic uncertainty, because as institutions begin to hedge against what may seem imminent at this point, economic turmoil, the first portions of their assets, the first portions of their portfolio that are going to be cut are, of course, going to be their higher risk assets, which you can't find a higher risk asset than Bitcoin. Or perhaps it's the threat of quantum computing, with a recent story this week revealing that Google's computing breakthrough being dubbed quantum supremacy. There has been a great deal of discussion surrounding the viability of cryptographic security and proof of work technology going forward in a future quantum-powered era. Now, also, there was a notable drop-off in hash rate coinciding with the Bitcoin sell-off, although it is said to have since recovered. Now, in addition to this, we also have the great Greta Thunberg matter, where just days ago, she had her high-profile speech at the United Nations in which she emotionally appealed to world leaders to address global climate change. Did Greta's pleas to avert climate disaster reach the wider crypto community? And did we collectively decide to begin abandoning this evil, energy-demanding industry in favor of a greener kumbaya future? Well, while that is a potential, it is true that the majority of Bitcoin mining is done with renewable energy. So there's that. And as if the meme threat of money laundering and terrorist financing was not enough, expect a future attack on Bitcoin's legitimacy by establishment forces on the basis of climate hysteria. So, what do you guys think? What do you guys think is the cause for the downturn? Is there any basis in looking at the news for reasons why such a thing happened? Do you think there is one specific event you can point to and say, yes, this is what moved the market the most. This is what tilted the market in the most favor of the bears. This is what initiated the selling. Or do you lean in camp B, which I think has more luck in the Forex industry and has slight success over here, which is absolutely everything is manipulated. There is no movement in the market that is not coordinated by evil Illuminati mustache twirling whales? Or do you fall into camp C with the rest of us who I would deem logical creatures, who are like, price was bearish, it was looking for a reason to break down, you have increased low volatility, you have price contraction that leads to expansion, and we had expansion to the downside. It happens. We predicted it. It happened. Guys, let me know in the chat. I'd appreciate that. Now, moving on to slightly better news. Score 1 for adoption, guys, as my page loads. Going across the aisle to our French neighbors, and I'm not talking French Canadian, I'm talking full on French. By early 2020, over 25,000 points of sale terminals for 30 French retailers will start accepting Bitcoin, including brands such as Foot Locker and cosmetic giant Sephora. Announced earlier today at the Paris Retail Week Expo, that sounds like a lot of fun, the new cryptocurrency payment system is launching via partnership between point-of-sale technology provider Global POS, sounds like my cell phone provider, the Easy Wallet application and payments platform Easy to Pay. Now, payments will be made in Bitcoin, while funds will be automatically converted into euros at the moment of sale. So retailers will be effectively settled in fiat euro, which is very convenient for retailers because they're not trying to accept, they're just trying to sell shirts, man. They're not trying to become market speculators as well by taking a speculative asset. Now, Stéphane Dejanne, who is the CEO and founder of Global POS, has said in a statement, quote, "This is an important symbolic step in the evolution of payment methods in France. However, more than a symbol, what we bring to 25,000 outlets is the ability to safely enter the world of the economy 3.0, end quote. Now, while Bitcoin remains to be the only cryptocurrency to be supported, because why would you want to pay with anything else, Dejanne has indicated the platform does intend to roll out support for altcoins in the future. So, interesting. And finally, our last little bit of positive news for the day, going across the pond a little bit more, really the opposite side of the pond, really more over the, not so much the pond, but the ocean, but 81 million of our brethren over there in Japan and the surrounding areas can now purchase cryptocurrencies via Line, which is Japan's dominant messaging app. This is the WhatsApp of Japan. They've rolled out their new Japanese-facing cryptocurrency exchange. Now, the social networking giant Line, which reports 81 million, that's Millie with an M, monthly active users in Japan alone, now offers trading for Bitcoin, ZERP, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and Litecoin. Now, Tokyo headquartered Line had previously rolled out an international-facing exchange called BitBox in July 2018, which offered services worldwide, excluding the United States and Japan. Now, with their new domestic exchange, BitMEX, the company says it's ready to tap into their largest market, saying, quote, while numerous existing exchanges already have a large customer base, Line sees cryptocurrency exchanges as still in their infancy and believes the industry has potential for even greater growth. The exchange is offered through Line's digital wallet and links with the Line Pay service, allowing for fast deposits and withdrawals in yen. Now, the company says it plans to emphasize security. We shall see about that, because that is often the fly in the ointment for everybody that wants to be setting up these new exchanges. I get emails every week from new exchanges wanting me to talk about them or do reviews of their platform. And you know what, guys? I'm pretty happy with where I'm trading right now. The only exchange that I'm interested in looking at right now that is new is the FTX exchange that I have been doing due diligence on, but I have not come to a conclusion on whether or not I support what they're doing or would be interested in trading on there myself. All right, so with that being said, guys, let me know what you guys' thoughts are on the news today, and we're going to slide back over into the live scene and head back to Bitcoin. All right. Yeah, Don Camden. Justin just pressed the red button. Simple as that. Yeah, that's what happened, man. I'm going with the evil, mustache twirling, cat petting, bemonocled guy. Yeah. All right, let's get into Wally's requests for Neo to the Bitcoin. All right, Neo to the Bitcoin on Binance here. Let's take a gander. Start off on the weekly. All right. Now, full disclosure, I do hold a bag of Neo. I like me some Neo. All right, so let's take a gander here. First off, let's go ahead and take off the weekly Ichimoku. And since we're going to be looking for, we're kind of looking at this in a more longer term investment area right here. Now, we are below all of our fast moving averages, well below our secondary baseline as well here on the weekly time frame. Now, we have been consolidating in a very tight range, Neo BTC right here on the weekly time frame, and we are seeing the lowest low that we've seen on Binance in some time. Let's actually see if we can get... Let's actually see, was this listed on Bitfinex earlier? No, it looks like it was listed later. This goes back to Bitfinex on September 17th. And let's see when it was listed on. Yeah, Bittrex is where we're going to be trading the oldest on. So while we are still above, I'd say significantly above, late 2016, early 2017 levels of accumulation back when we were still Ant, we really have fully retraced all the way on Neo. I really don't think that you get, much lower levels than this because, once you make new all-time lows, you just assume that price will continue to make new all-time lows. But as it is, I quite like Neo. I like their team. I like their project. I like what they do. That is the reason that I have bought some Neo. It's not a trade. It is a longer term investment. And again, as with all investments, it has the ability with altcoins to go to zero, thus why it represents the portion of my portfolio that it does. Will I be destitute should Neo go to zero? Absolutely not. I would just be slightly cross. But such things happen. I've had investments go to zero before as well. It is a natural part of investing. Now, On the weekly time frame, we are coming off of our time transformation weekly buy signal. We have not had a lot of movement off of that yet. We are actually about to probably going to take another week or so, and it really depends on price movement here to begin descending lower. I'd say we are right at that low area and testing that low that we had established previously here a few weeks ago around that 83,000 mark. As far as what do we need to see? Well, we really need to see price above 96,256, as I talked about on the weekly time frame. That's kind of a good area. That is kind of a break of this consolidation range here. Let's bring up that VPVR as well. You know, honestly, none of this is going to be there. You know, a chart like this is very simple, really. A chart like this is very simple, man. You have extremely low price. You have very low downside momentum right now. Look at this price contraction. Look at price below the dead zone. And you've had price below the dead zone since April of 2019. You have not had much in the way of a bull rally on NEO whatsoever. And again, as I said, if Bitcoin continues to shit the bed, then we will be seeing bullish activity on our altcoins. So really at this point in time, it comes down to, are you comfortable holding this position as we are right now, given where price is at this moment? And what are you going to be your objective levels for letting price go? Unfortunately, we don't really have a lot of levels of support below us. Again, I believe this is what I said when I previously looked at NEO. Should we see a weekly close below this low, I think that would be bearish. Not necessarily letting go of my position, but if you have a lower time frame, if you're not prepared to hold NEO forever, regardless if it goes to zero, if you are looking for an exit strategy, I would say that that would be a good area to potentially rethink your area, or excuse me, to potentially rethink your buy. As it sits right now, I think that it's impossible for me to talk about this without some bias, as I do hold NEO, unlike most altcoins in which I do not hold. But again, there is not a lot of objective bullish things about the chart right now, except for the price, except for the fact that price is quite low. You do have extremely low price contraction. What does price contraction mean? Price contraction means that we are gearing up for price expansion. And we did have Wada-Atar explosion. Flipping bullish on the daily, we actually do now have a rising explosion level, still printing green. Now we are seeing a retracement after a nice weekly pump up to our weekly 8-period exponential moving average, but so far no significant levels have been breached. We really are right back where we talked about previously. This slight bullish run over here on the week did not end up amounting to much. It did fully retrace. We are currently just trading right back in that consolidation zone on NEO without a significant break to the upside or to the downside that really matters on anything like a macro time frame here. So honestly, not a big update, man. Not a big check-in, man. Nothing has really happened that would panic an investor, and nothing has really happened that would really incentivize a trader. So let's kind of zoom down to the daily time frame and just look at where we're at in relation to PTP, looking for a trade setup. Steve Cherry, thanks so much for the subscription over there on YouTube, my good friend. Yeah, so here on Neo BTC on the daily, we can see the daily double bottom. We did form a little bit of a lower low coming off of these lows where we did get the time transformation buy signal. I don't think we're going to be getting any kind of divergence off of this movement. A little bit. I mean, one could argue that we are getting, so this is going to be your weak divergence right here. If we do end up bottoming right here, you can obviously see that we formed equal lows in price action, but a higher low. This is typically referred to as Class C. Everybody has kind of a different category for divergence. There is really no objective standard, but this is known as weaker bullish divergence because we are not forming a lower low. We are forming an equidistant low with what seems to be a higher low if price does end up stopping here. Now, objectively, you want to see price back above that. For the daily here, you want to see price above that $92,341 mark to be looking for long trades in that fashion. But looking for somebody who's looking for a low, I think, again, you have pretty clear lines here. You have a low that's been established. You're looking at a double bottom kind of setup right here. And I think that what I would be looking for is the time transformation cross up to kind of confirm that. I do kind of like the bullish divergence there, even if it is the weaker form of bullish divergence. Looking for a trade, I mean, you do have a reversion to the mean. Actually, let's pull up volatility expander if we're going to be looking at reversion to the mean trades. Worder, thanks so much for the sub on YouTube, my friend. looking for reversion to the mean type trades. Even here, you do need to see price closing above 85,919 to get back above the lower volatility band right here. And should that happen, you would be looking for a trade up to the baseline right here. It's about a 4.5% trade. You'd be lucky to capture about 3%, maybe even 2% of that movement. And then, of course, targeting the higher band, which is going to be another 4% on top of that. So maybe a potential for 6 to 7% if we're getting a good entry on that trade. Other than that, I don't really see anything massive to update here on Neo, my good friend. If we're holding, I know you're holding those Neo bag. I know you're holding that Neo bag. So just stay the course, my friend. Stay the course. But if you're looking for, what do you want to see to panic and get out? Again, it's kind of hard to argue with the weekly close below the low. It's kind of hard to argue with that. But of course, I do like the time transformation weekly buy signal. We haven't really gotten one of those in a while. We're talking about not taking them in bearish trends. We're talking about taking them in consolidation. We see price stop. We get our first buy signal. We don't buy that. We have more consolidation, weaker momentum. We take the second one. So I don't think we have the same scenario here. This is just a downtrend and then one candle to the upside, which triggered us because we were oversold. So that's not a signal that we want to take. Here we've had plenty of time and lowered momentum, moving sideways, consolidation, and then finally a bullish signal on the weekly. I think that's a little bit more powerful. Getting over to BNB USDT for you, man. BNB USDT on the weekly. Let's go to the daily, and I do want to look at... Seems as if they have deleted my... Oh, that's BNB BTC. BNB BTC. So BNB USDT, kind of following the rest of the USDT market or the USD market, moving down with Bitcoin, not moving inverse to it whatsoever. The only thing that we're seeing bullish activity out of course, is our BTC pairs. I don't really see anything significant to talk about. As far as levels of support, I mean, here's the thing, man. Let's take volatility expander off. And of course, we've got levels, but, I'm not going to sit here and play right line, wrong line. We've got taking this off and taking this off, zooming in here. We're looking for, first off, we're looking for lows, and then we can kind of start looking for order blocks. We've got all these levels that are untested for liquidity. And then if we go over and see where price is, okay, well, we've taken this area out right here. That's counterfeit. We've taken this area out right here. That's counterfeit. What's the next area to take out right here to be looking for a bounce? And again, did we get a significant bounce off this low? No. Did we get a significant bounce off this low? Yet to be seen. Are we going to get a significant bounce off this low? It's yet to be seen. So next area, that one would be looking for is about $13.50. And then below that, you've got about $8. So let's see if we can't, let's say fuck that. And let's see if we can't find an objective order block around here. And to assist us a little bit, let us bring up VPVR. So we want to do bar replay here and make sure that we're not looking at... Okay, so where is the highest volume node right now? Highest volume node right now is going to be right around $14, which is a little bit higher. So I think that does lead credence to that area that I talked about, right around that $13.50 mark right there. That liquidity grab right there is where one would want to have some limit buys. Obviously, if we look at where price ended up descending to on yesterday's candle, and that's actually right where we landed. That's right where we landed. That's right where we landed. So we did end up descending down to the highest high volume node right there, as you guys can see. That level, I did bar replay to make sure that I wasn't getting false data off of yesterday's candle, which is not what I wanted. Let's take VPVR off. Let's see here. So yeah, I think that area makes sense from an SR level. And I think I would most likely want to be out of the trade below 13.13, maybe $13 flat, but 13.13, 13.15, right around that area. Just looking at what we've got. Let's get back to, sorry that I hit the wrong button. But other than that, so if you're looking for a level that has significance, I don't really beyond VPVR and beyond a brief period of consolidation, I don't see anything different about this level than I do here. I mean, this looks very similar to Bitcoin, to be quite honest with you. Where is the real support? Well, the real support is over here, where you actually had consolidation. And again, that's stretches all the way down from $12 to $9. And we talked about that at kind of $8 area, $8.70, I think I just mentioned prior to that, which is going to be these lows right here. Yeah, these lows right here and these lows right here. But yeah, now we're playing right line, wrong line. So as with all level trading, you have come down to what VPVR has determined is a significant level, and now you just need to see what kind of reaction that you see off of that. Again, I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of movement to the upside, just a slight recovery after such a bearish movement. Is that a reversal trade that I want to take? No, we already talked about the reversion to the mean trade, which is how I would recommend taking reversals, which in this point in time would be, we got to get all the way back above 1809, wait for the daily close tomorrow. We'll probably be down around that $17 mark, most likely. So just let that work its way down. Other than that, let's look at where we would have taken a continuation. We would have taken a continuation right here. Could we have been able to short BNB? And we're below the baseline, so we're not really looking for longs. We haven't been looking for longs since June of 2019. We've been in a bearish market since June of 2019. We've had a pretty significant retracement from the highs. Obviously, we're down about 62%. That's about right for about a cryptocurrency. So maybe this is a good time to begin looking for buy areas. So let's not get too hasty. And again, as I said, let's look for a little bit of a reaction off of this level. What do we see here? If we do bottom, of course, we do see a little bit of potential bullish divergence coming in here. But again, we had some bullish divergence right here. We had bullish divergence from here to here, and that would not have gotten you into the trade. You would have not seen that divergence until maybe the next candle, and maybe you do catch that trade. Maybe you catch 4 or 5% on that. Highly unlikely, though. Overall, you probably get trapped, and I'm sure you don't, you're not going to hold along through all this, most likely, especially once you break the daily low, but yeah, just dumping with the rest of the market, man. Likely to move up a little bit. We're not long-term bullish, man. And I'm not sold on the idea that this is the best place to buy. Nestor says, can I do BSV BTC, please? I just joined the Discord. Well, welcome to the Discord, man. Looking forward to meeting with you and talking with you. Bitcoin, Satoshi's vision. Here we are on the old tried and true Finex. And I don't know what to say about this. Here's the thing. You're either in a ridiculous bull market with about 1, 2, 3 daily candles accounting for almost all your gains, and then just a massive bearish trend, which is a very difficult asset to trade, or you're in a downtrend. Where are we at right now? All right, so we formed a bearish order block. Right there. We established our low, held, broken, back tested as resistance, broken down through, making that a bearish breaker, meaning you're not allowed to look for longs until price is above 0.01239. 0.01239, and anything in between 0.011497 and that aforementioned 0.01239, you are going to sell. Boom. Right? So you're looking for the bullish break above that level. Let's go over to PTP and see if we have confluence. And we do have some decent confluence with our baseline coming in at 0.10974. That is where we want to see price above before we would even consider a long. One thing to point out, obviously, as well, is we are getting a lot of bullish divergence on these. Why are we getting bullish divergence? Because we had a super sick, damn massive move to the downside. So be careful. Be careful when looking at that bullish divergence with too much candor, because often you will get false bullish divergence when you have really huge movements to the downside or to the upside. You will get bearish divergence very frequently. And why? Because you have, as you can see, or what I like to call a fuck you candle. I'm taking my watch off. You have a fuck you candle right here because look at the volatility. And actually we can show this by bringing up Quadriga ATR. We'll bring up Quadriga ATR and we will just for a moment, sorry guys, hide the chat. And we're going to open up the data window. And what we're going to do here is we're going to look at this value right here. This is the data window for CC Quadriga ATR. And we want to look at this value right here, which is ATR, right? We want to look at this value called ATR. We can see on the current candle, it's 00078. Right? And now let's go back to before that. We can see the volatility is pretty much 0006, 0005. Okay. And then we have a massive spike and we have volatility spike to 00078. So that is almost a 25% increase in volatility in one candle. What does that mean? It means it's going to throw your indicators off. So you have to be very careful looking for things like divergence. And you have to be very careful for things like overbought or oversold when you are having what's the one looking for? An asymmetric movement, right? You have a range and then you have a break of that range on a highly volatile candle. Guess what that means? All your indicators were operating and receiving data. Indicators are only as good as the data that you're porting into them. And when your data, your look back data for your indicators is coming from a range, and then you put in a initiation of a trend movement, you cannot use those indicators the same way. Cannot use those indicators the same way. And again, this isn't a problem for trend traders because we're always just looking for a trend. Okay. But for those of you who are trying to trade reversals and look at things like overbought and oversold, your indicators are not going to be right when you're looking at things like divergence or overbought or oversold. When you have a market that looks like this and then you get a candle that looks like this, it's just not going to work. It completely throws your indicators out of whack, and you need to let everything reset before you can take a valid indicator-based trade. So I would be bearish on BSV. Potential rise up again to that daily baseline, coming in, as I said, right around 0.0109, maybe a little bit higher than that. And again, I'd be looking to sell that area, or I'd be looking to sell 0.01149, 0.01239. Can't short BSV BTC as far as I know, and I would really be interested in shorting BSV due to liquidity issues, most likely. But that's where we're at. All right, back to the big daddy, the big kahuna, the one that rules them all, the one coin to rule them all. And getting down to ByBit, and we'll hop down to that 15-minute chart, and we will see. Actually, XBT-USD, excuse me. There we go. And we will look at XBT-USD and we will see what there is to see. Again, we talked about the 15-minute setup with VWAP. Again, still looking for those lows to be taken and that daily VWAP to be reclaimed is the only kind of daily setup that I see as far as the price action day trading setup goes. Other than that, holding the short swing open is a no-duh right now at this point in time. Myself blames the dump on the Illuminati. Well, of course, man, they're responsible for everything. Sir Smackalot says, shorted 10,200, covered at 91.50, reopened the short at 87.50, man. Good, man. Good profit. Alpine says, I think institutions liquidating a portion of their risk on assets, Bitcoin had something to do with the dump, and the rest of the things you mentioned, ... Yes, for sure. I think that's the biggest portion of it. Definitely lizard overlords manipulating our precious coins. Well, of course, man. What exchange do I trade on? Binance, ByBit, BitMEX, Deribit, not so much anymore, Coinbase, and Kraken. And that is it. Yes, you can short BNB on Binance. Do I still trust Chinese crypto? I don't trust the news coming out about the projects, or it seems muddy. I don't know if I've ever said I trusted Chinese cryptocurrencies. Now, I understand that Neo is from China, but I don't look at like what nation they're from. I look at what they're doing as a project. Justin is my Morpheus to my Neo. They even have the same haircut. Thanks, Jack. Steve Cherry, thanks so much for joining us over there, my friend. Jay, you ever going to try your system on MESS, MTQ, MNQ, MYM? Well, I have used my system on the NQ, the S&P, the Dow, all of these CME futures, and they work well. Satish says, how do I get the volatility expander on TradingView? I haven't published it yet. Apologies for that. Still working out the, whenever I take an indicator out of my wild, chaotic way that I use my own indicators, and I clean it up and I make it easy and user-friendly, I have to do a guide for it. I have to explain full strategies. So it takes a while. It's kind of a process. Eternal says, Justin is awesome. You are more awesome, my friend. Andrew says, dude, the CC system duplicates in the index markets. It's awesome. You should run a 10-minute backtest. It absolutely smashes it. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. That's why we do have a lot of stock traders who come in just for the indicators. I don't fake live donations to get real donations, like the red-headed freak who shall not be mentioned. I'm not sure who you're talking about, but no, I do not have any incentive to fake live donations. Any donations go towards supporting the stream and are highly appreciated, of course. Dan says, cooked a beautiful steak with some mushrooms, man. Make sure those aren't psilocybin mushrooms, man, or you might be having an interesting trading day. I would recommend taking the battery out of the phone that has your two-factor authentication in case one is taking hallucinogenic substances. Satoshi Nakafomo. Hey, Justin, can we get a small recap for those of us who came late today? Potential bullish trade on the very low time frames for BTC. No reason to close your short trades yet. Stay hedged to the downside and don't go chasing waterfalls. What are my baseline settings? That is currently a 30-period Nanchian. So in other words, how much time does it take for the indicators to reset? It's different for every asset, but at least a couple days. So I'm bearish on BSV as well. It stops in, or maybe just go flat and wait it out. Any downside target for BSV USD? No, not necessarily at this point in time. Ownch says, hey, Justin just joined, but I'm going to watch it all later. Can you explain a good stop for the situation on BTC for my short? So going to the short scenario, I did end up putting a trailing stop on Bitcoin with about a value of about $700. Thank you so much for the $2, Wally. He says, bot responds to fake donations in no time, which is much better than any time. Thank you so much, my friend. Right now, as far as a stop loss situation, that would be my hard stop. Assuming for some ungodly, unlikely reason that wouldn't trigger for some reason, or you don't want to set one of those. The level that I talked about earlier was, of course, right now, 91.68. If I see price above that, I would hard close out. But since my trailing stop is already pretty low, Aw, Rich beat me to it. Thanks, Ben. Don't go. Hold on, I'll put on the hard limiter for that. Don't go chasing wicks that fall. Please stick to the limits and the stops that you're used to. Just for you, man. Just for you, my dude. All right. We will take a look at Chainlink, and I think that's going to be the last request of the day, and we're going to start wrapping up the live show, guys. You guys have been awesome. Link on the daily, man. Woo, responding nicely, honestly, to what's been going on in the market over the last few days. All right, so let's bring up, you know, honestly, I haven't been super excited to look at alts over the last couple of days. But if we do take a gander, PTP did give us a nice signal, a beautiful signal. We got the initial powerful signal here on the daily time frame, which did end up in a quick fake to the upside. But of course, one could have re-entered on this candle right here, where we do close back above. And then we do have some nice bullish expansion. And looking at Quadriga ATR at that point in time, let's see, we have two of three take profits getting hit on that particular trade to the upside. We would be in trailing stop territory at this point in time. So one would have a trailing stop. Where would I want to be setting a trailing stop? I would be wanting to set a trailing stop right now of a value of at least... let's see here, of at least 1,900 sats. At least 1,900 sats is what I'd have my trailing stop loss on for Link BTC. Now we do have this big reversal candle looking, you know, zippy-doo with kangaroo leg right here. And again, these, you know, in cryptocurrency, these very long wicks, these very large inverted hammers do end up tending to play out very well. It's not part of my strategy, but again, it is something to talk about and mention. So would I want to be a buyer on Link right now? No, I would not. I don't think I'd be exiting my full position either, because you never want to assume that the market will reverse. I would hold my position with that trailing stop. And at this point in time, I'd probably remove TP3 just in case we can get a little bit more oomph. Of course, you know, looking at the way that this wicked, if you wouldn't have had your TP2 in, then you would not have caught dang near this top of this wick right here. Let's see, you'd have a break even stop loss around 18,587. I wouldn't want to see price any lower than that. And that actually might be farther away than the trailing stop. Yeah, so, you know, I'd have a hard stop right here at around 18,587. And then I would set that trailing stop loss about 1,900 sats away, which would be lower than that. But again, the trailing stop loss, you do not want to get hit. It is there to allow price to breathe. So we'll see if we can get some more bullishness out of Link. Now, again, I don't think we are shifting from a bearish to a bullish market. I think we've had consolidation here and some slow growth here. And we are getting a purple dot of life, meaning if we do get a net negative candle, that we will get a time transformation reversal sell signal. And then again, I wouldn't be a buyer until down around 18,000 or 1874, excuse me. Yeah, 18,474. 18,474. So basically a reversion to the mean trade on this one right here. Volatility expander will help us out with that as well. Volatility expander would have you exiting now that we've hit TP2, would have us exiting if we end up going below 19,747 sats at this point in time. So pretty much if we close the daily below the current low, I would be exiting the position. And I really wouldn't be doing anything with Link right now. Best case scenario is would end up getting a retreat back into the static zone, which would be happening right around the same time that we kind of get this pullback back down to the daily baseline, and then we look for a kickoff there and a continuation signal from Minx. That's what I'd be looking for on Chainlink. Overall, not extremely impressed with this. In this bearish movement to the downside, we have had one fake out already close above the baseline, and this is potentially gearing up to be number 2. And we just have had, lower highs and lower lows. So I really haven't seen a significant break of anything yet. But again, you always want to be on the lookout for that potential breakout. You just take the buys where they are associated. Wadatar would have kept you out of this one. And going to Wadatar, we of course do have a rising explosion level with green columns above the explosion level, meaning one could have taken that long trade right here, baby. Fucking gay dude? Oh, yeah, man. I don't know what to tell you, bro. I like me some pop music, dude. Seems BTC formed a new triangle trend. Can you recommend a swing trade it? And where would you get confirmation that it's a breakout from it to either keep the BTC or sell it? No leverage use, though. Are you talking about like on the LTFs? I did talk about that on XBT USD for what I'm kind of watching today. Which would basically be this setup right here. Potentially looking to be a buyer at 82.20 to 82.10, and then the break above 84.18 would be your other potential entry as well. Looking for that break and reclamation. And as I talked about, what would give a little bit of basically would be for price to turn on right about here. We got this range from low to high, and we're looking at establishing this basically this median zone right about there. I'd say would be about the median of that movement. And so anything, if we did end up forming a higher low here, I would think that would be a little bit more, that would be pretty good. That would be a pretty good sign to see. I love to see that pattern. Multiple tests of resistance, test, higher low formed at or above the median of the distance from the recent low to the current high. But again, the other thing to keep in mind is these triple lows now and liquidity there. So thank you so much, Dan. Who are you to be in a position to make Justin feel so damn unpretty? All right, guys, it is 1:58. Let's start wrapping up. Thank you guys so much. Let's slide on over. Over here. Hey guys, what's going on? Camera angle number 2 coming at you live. Boom, pow, crack. Thank you guys so much for joining me for another exciting episode of Breaking Bitcoin Market Update. Of course, I have been your host, Justin. Hopefully, you guys go on to have a very fantastic rest of your day. All right. Now, regular end of show stuff. If you guys are new to trading, if you guys would like to learn our rules, use our tools, access our indicators, receive our analyst updates, receive our signals and setups, and go through the Pathways to Profit strategy building course and receive mentorship on how to build your own verifiable technical strategy from the ground up. Make sure to visit premium.krakencryptocurrency.com, link down in the description down below if you guys would like to push your trading to the next level. If you guys want to keep up to date on what's going on and join a community of like-minded traders and investors, make sure to hop in the Discord, discord.krakencryptocurrency.com, free and public for everybody, and it is the place to be. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, sarcastic remarks, or God forbid, death threats, make sure to leave them in the comment section down below, and I will try to respond to you within the next 48 hours if it is germane to my sanity. If you guys want to support the show, make sure to subscribe. Bell icon is great. Otherwise, YouTube does not care about crypto. YouTubers will not let you know if we're going live. Hit the thumbs up button, guys, and share us around to your friends, your family, even people you don't even like. They want to hear this information, and it's good for them to hear it, guys. Until tomorrow, I've been Justin. You guys have been the audience, and I hope that your day is better for this. Make sure to trade safely, and I will be back here tomorrow at noon again, every single day, like clockwork, like an atomic clock, as someone would say, to provide the best analysis and market updates that I can and break down the current events in cryptocurrency. Until then, trade safely, and I'll see you guys tomorrow to crack some more cryptocurrency. See you guys.